What's up, guys? Hope everyone's well. We are live, just a couple minutes late. Just had a problem getting up the chat so I can actually see what you guys were saying. But it's been a bit of a hiatus, hasn't it, really, since I last streamed. So looking forward to catching up with everyone and seeing how everyone is. Um, Ray, hello. Shinobi, hello. Edison, Gobby as normal. um, but yeah, no, welcome. Um, Unfortunately, I've got that weird camera tearing thing going on just here again. So that, which I don't know. I don't know if playing with this is going to break it just a second, but I'm just going to have a quick look and see if I can fix whatever it is. Let's have a look. I doubt it, frankly. But yeah, cool. Stella, hello. Notorious, hello. Can says, have you built your Krieg yet? Not yet, not yet. I'm savouring it. For those that don't know, Can and I, and Napo, who's in chat at the minute, hello mate, all went last week to Nottingham to Warhammer World. Stunner's heard this more than twice now, because I just keep subjecting him to it. Sorry, bud. But we went to Warhammer World for a big campaign that Napo and I run. Everyone else gets involved in. Really good fun narrative. It's not one of those just smash everyone around. It's all about the story and bits and pieces. And yeah, despite the intense heat, which is what it was pretty gnarly. It was a really good, really good event. Nice to meet Can for the first time. Nice to get drunk with Can for the first time. Well, kind of drunk, but yeah, no, it was good just to meet with everyone and have a bit of a giggle. So that was the plan. Because of course the week before that I was down with family in the West Country in the UK, so that took up a little bit of time. And in between the two, oh my god, we had the great Starfield debacle, which I'll fill you in on in a little while. Um, the bottom line here is don't order stuff when you're drunk. But yeah, so yes, a lot of fun. But yeah, so basically ordered Starfield, but I'd been looking at the Constellation Edition for ages, as people who've been here before knew. And every time it popped up on the screen, this is the excuse. Two, obviously, images to click on, two store items would pop up. The one on the left was the PC one, the one on the right was the Xbox one. I checked when I opened them up. One on the left was the PC one. I opened it, and then because I was drunk, I stopped looking. And what had happened since the last time I looked was that they had sold out, but they hadn't removed the store listing. So it still said PC on the store listing, but when you actually clicked on it, it defaulted to the Xbox version. So I ordered it and was like, yeah, this is really exciting. Was waiting at my parents' before driving back up here. So basically, they said, oh, it's going to come really late on Friday. So I was like, okay, well, I'll stay Friday night, come back Saturday. And then Thursday, I got my pre-download code for Xbox. At which point, I went, no, don't want Xbox, don't do consoles. And that was it. And Game in the UK, really unhelpfully, have no customer services numbers. Their chatbot is entirely automated. There is no way to speak to normal human beings at all, upsettingly. So, yeah, that was pretty much it. Um, I'm lumbered, or I was lumbered with the Xbox version, and they said, look, it's sold out. You need to go to the stores. None of the stores have numbers because they're all now tenants in another brand in the UK, a brand called Sports Direct. So they're not even on their own premises. So they have no phone. So I was like, well, okay, Saturday morning, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go in and just see one here in Plymouth, and then as I drive home, maybe if I scoot through places that have a game, I'll have to check there. And luckily enough, I got to Plymouth game, and I said, I'm really sorry, I was drunk, I'm an idiot. And they went, oh, we've got one left, one PC Constellation version. So traded that out, mission accomplished. Starfield, the PC Constellation edition, appeared, which is really cool for those that haven't seen this. Your game code, which I've redeemed so you can zoom in all you want, but your game code comes on a credit wafer, the same credit wafers, and this is pretty damn solid, right? It's a nice bit of thing, but basically the game code comes laser etched on this thing, and it says here G-bit notarized by Galbank, non-volatile graphite currency, so it's all from inside the game. So that arrived, and then the bit that I know everyone wants to see, if you haven't seen them already, so this is tough as old boots again. Really kind of resilient, really well made, and then effectively what you're doing at the front. Sorry, this thing's going to kill. There we go. So what you're doing at the front is you're moving that lever there, which retracts the rods at either side, and then open up. Now I haven't actually done the watch yet, but or wired it or anything, but in effect, under there you'll probably not be able to see, but there's some instructions under which is the charging panel for it. So it just sits on there to charge. There's two little metal prongs that side. There's charging kit underneath that. Yeah, so sooner or later that'll be sat quite happy on my wrist, but I'm just waiting for a new smartphone first because it wants to run off all your smartphone stuff. So yeah, is that my lunchbox? It's nowhere near big enough to be my lunchbox, Stunner. Come on, behave. But yeah, so it's just really cool. Really happy with it. And then having played the game, kind of glad that I did plump for it in the end, although it is incredibly expensive as limited edition games go. Yeah, really happy that I got it in the end. I bought a TV off eBay one drunk once. 2-hour hungover drive to pick it up. Oh mate, that sounds rubbish. Good TV though. As long as you didn't drop it because you were hungover as you put it in the truck or whatever, then I guess that's the main thing. You can't wait for the Star Citizen Collector's Editions. I kind of feel like we've already had those, right? Because it feels like all I've been doing since I bought Star Citizen is collecting ships. Yeah, so what about you guys? Anyone who's had their teeth in Starfield yet? What do people think? I'm not entirely sure what delay we're looking at the moment on the stream. Hopefully it's not too bad, because otherwise it's just like these pauses where I sit here and go, nobody's talking to me. Stream sponsored by Dr. Pepper, unfortunately, this time around. I've been drinking so much over the last 2 weeks that I couldn't face it. Or the week before that. That this week's just been a complete detox, apart from Friday night when I went to a friend's barbecue. So Kako says you've already had me bitching in your ear. No need for me to say anything. Stunner says haven't played it but been watching a lot of it being played on streams. Yeah, like me when I'm sat there being antisocial and forcing everyone in Discord chat to watch it because I can't put it down. I've put in a lot of time. According to Steam, I'm not far short of 100 hours. I don't want to talk about it. Although, to be fair, I did start it up and leave it on overnight, and I've done that twice. So some of that is overnight. Badger's tired, Badger's in bed, sort of kind of time. But yeah, good. Well, Stunner's already given me flack for the title of the stream today, but you know, this is one of the ones where I've said from the start of the channel that I was always gonna try and bring as balanced a view as I could to the game, and I was going to point out when there are things that I don't like. And unfortunately, this one might be a slightly negative about Star Citizen stream, because that's where I feel like we are at the moment. Although happy to be told different, but I genuinely, the bit I think it. So I think there's a bit of a conflux of a bunch of things have happened all at once. That could have happened on any given year, but what we've had is Star Citizen's gone through a massive technical back-end change, which meant we didn't have much content to deal with. And the next content patch that they're bringing from that is 3.20, which is the Arena Commander stuff. So you've got lots of stuff that's not necessarily connected directly to the persistent universe. They're connected in more abstract ways, like test beds and all that sort of stuff. You've also got the fact that we are in that lull that happens every year before CitizenCon. So they've gone tight-lipped. All the good news is going to be waiting for October 21st, 22nd. And we've just kind of got to wait it out until that stuff hits. Fine. And then you have the release of two very successful titles back-to-back, Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield. And, you know, Baldur's Gate 3, although I haven't played it, completely rocked the boat in terms of it's a complete package, it's minimal on bugs, there's no DLC, there's no, you know, kind of all the other stuff. It's a complete package. It's what gamers have been asking for forever, since microtransactions and everything started creeping their way into games. It was a case of, well, you know, we got a complete game, it's a complete launch, it's a product in one. We're not waiting for major fixes come the first patch. You know, to the point where some studios are even silly enough to suggest that we shouldn't be looking at Baldur's Gate 3 because it sets quote unquote unrealistic expectations of game design. No, up your game. Simply, if Baldur's Gate 3 can figure it out, then you should. I'm sorry, I've got the window open at the minute because it's still quite warm in the UK. So, and of course it's dark, so you might get the odd bug just kind of breeze through. I can't do anything about it. Sorry, it's either that or I cook in here. But obviously, if I've got the fan on, then there's lots of noise, so I'm going to have the window cracked. Wiggy1 says, you should play Baldur's Gate 3. Is it good? I've seen snippets of it, but I haven't seen a lot at all, so I'd be more than happy to take a steer on that. Can says, they've also patched the game ASAP for the minor bugs that did come. Yep, so that kind of through life, looking after your product when you release it, not just releasing it and go, nah, it's everyone else's problem now. That's kind of cool. Wiggy1 says, Baldur's Gate 3 is the best game I've played in 2 decades. Just my opinion, though. No, that's cool. I'm really glad you're enjoying it, mate. I will have a look. It probably won't be purchased this month, because we went ham at Nottingham. Jesus, why was that so hard? But yes, while we were in Nottingham, we You know, I spent probably more money than I should have done. Let's leave it between that and the Constellation Edition. But yeah, yeah. Stop looking at these devs that are successful as making us look back as notorious. Exactly that. You know, this is what people want, and I'm not gonna. You know, I don't think people should have to apologize for that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? You know, if you're not meeting your customers' expectations, that's not your customers' problems as a general rule. If they want a product that's complete and not full of bugs, then yeah. The difference between Larian versus the rest of the AAA devs is like Independence versus EA for customer focus. Yeah, I guess what you mean by that is, you know, in terms of EA is only focused on your wallet, not gameplay. Yeah, and all of a sudden along comes this kind of this developer who's actually invested in putting out a good product, and looking after it after launch, and not fleecing the customers and showing that you can just release a product and be profitable. Yeah, I think that's come as a shock to a few people actually. Yeah, no, that's really cool. So I think that's um, lowering upset the new normal of software, says we want as a service and pushing out to deadlines even if it isn't complete. Yeah, this is one that always perplexes me because I'm not always sure that it is. I'll rephrase that. Pushing out a substandard product ahead of time because you're trying to do deadlines is not always the studio's fault. Um, Sometimes it is, I would imagine, probably oftentimes, it's the investor's fault for demanding a return. And we know kind of, I think from what I remember of the whole Cyberpunk 2077 CD Projekt Red, they had the couple of delays and then they were told by their investors in no uncertain terms, you will release it next time. Which resulted in the substandard product we got of Cyberpunk 2077, and then, you know, quick as a flash. Apart from this DLC that's coming out, the free DLC, I think it is, it just got abandoned by CD Projekt Red, which is a shame because that looked like the sort of an IP that could have done with some expanding and a few more games. Drop Yogurt, hello mate, good to see you. Hello Mega Man. Do you think with advances in AI that CIG would look into it maybe help with problems like server meshing? Yeah, we were just saying. I was just saying, Drop, that I think CIG are a little bit of a victim at the moment of three things happening at once: the pre-CitizenCon lull, the fact that we've had some very good games released, and the other thing, oh yes, the fact that they just done technical stuff, so we weren't getting a lot of content, and the next content's going to be Arena Commander, not PU. So, like, you've got content creators who are unfortunately then creating false headlines with the things like the PTU wave thing, and out lying. And I talked last time I was live about maybe doing a video on it. I got that video to the point where I could have pressed publish, and then thought better of it, because all it was doing was pointing out a couple of content creators who had out and out lied, made factually incorrect statements. It wasn't an opinion thing. It wasn't a it was silly things like, this is where they've introduced money into the wave system. It's like, no, it's not. Money's always been a part of the wave system. It's always been linked to how much you spent. Like, so stuff like that. I mean, No Man's Sky is the really interesting one, because No Man's Sky then just focused, because I suppose because Hello Games had nowhere else to hide, right? They had no other product, but they just focused for 5 years, and they've turned No Man's Sky into a hugely disappointing launch, into something that is quite actually special if you go back and play it now. If that's your thing, and I get some people are ruined on it, don't have a problem with that. I haven't gone back and played it that much, but it is so far advanced from where it is, where it has been, and that sort of stuff. And the fact that you're all exploring that same universe, that's quite cool too. But yeah, So that's kind of where I am with CIG at the minute, and at the moment, and that's the title of the video, right? That's the title of the stream. Is at the moment, I don't think CIG are really doing anything worthy of content creators doing anything, newsworthy on them. Of course, people are still going to do their other content. They're going to do their series. They're going to do their showing bits off and making Makima and all that sort of stuff. Fine. But news-wise, CIG aren't there. Starfield overtook them. Baldur's Gate 3 overtook them. And even if those things hadn't happened... Now, the question is that a bad thing? Right? From a content creator perspective, obviously it is. Because you sat there going, what am I making videos on again? Someone remind me. But, it's in build. There are going to be periods of slow progress. All of that is easily anticipated. So does that make it a bad thing? I don't think it does. They're working on Squadron 42. They don't want to talk about it. We're in the run-up to CitizenCon. Fine. But yeah, that's about it. On that note, CitizenCon and stuff, just as something to think about. So feel free, as the stream goes on, as the ideas hit you, feel free to throw them in chat. But what do you guys think about we should do for CitizenCon? Do I do a summary video at the end of each day and just talk it through? Do we do a live stream over the 2 days? Bring your own beer, that sort of stuff. I don't know. Up to you guys. But whatever you fancy. If you've got ideas, let me hear it. But, I have that weekend free because obviously I'm not going there. So, yeah, let's see what we think. So, what have what have I been doing for your leisure time? Playing something else, doing something else, or still playing SC? So I no need to ask me what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing. Lots of loving it. Really enjoy it. And maybe we'll do a thing. Yeah, Wiggy1 says, I'm hoping SitCon isn't more coming soon news. There has to be some it's here now news. Edison says, I think we do a drinking game. Every time they say soon, we take a shot. We die, frankly. Even those of us that can really drink would die. Every time they said soon, dead. I suppose we could play some sort of bingo game where once they've said it, you say it once and then you drink. But I just, like, over 2 days, mate, my liver wouldn't manage. But yeah, we'll see what we think. Yeah, so I've been doing some tabletop wargaming drops. I've been doing a whole bunch of different bits. Been painting models, I've been building models, I've been running a campaign for friends. There's been a lot of stuff going on. Been visiting family, so for me it's been quite busy. And then literally from tomorrow I'm away on a course this week with work. So yeah, it's been a bit like blah. Yeah. Notorious LB live stream group watch with drink highlights videos to follow. Think we do a drinking game. Yeah, I mean, like, the drinking game would be streamer and community drink themselves to death on stream in ludicrously dangerous drinking game. Not really why I want to hit the news. I mean, well, I can be talked around to it, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, but I don't know. How do you guys feel? Because looking at a couple of the festivals that CIG have been putting on, like the Fortuna, the Spirit of Friendship one that they did, the Pirate Week now that's going on, and it's time to start converting to things in game, right? That Pirate Week isn't alternating Jump Town and the System Blockade, whatever it's called, the Ninetales Lockdown, or whatever form that's in now. Leave a legacy. Oh God, yeah, not that legacy. No, um, that's not. I'm not going out like that. But yeah, just for fun, bets on what we think will be announced or happen at CitizenCon. Yeah, I mean, the big question is where's server meshing? I guess, right? How far are we on the server meshing thing? It's probably a good moment actually to talk about a couple of things that they've got out now, or they've just put out. So why don't we have a look at this one? There we go. So I've lost the Gucci transition. Something happened. OBS screwed up. But they put this out, which has more than enough text, I think, to put gamers off actually reading it. It's quite interesting. Basically, CIG pulled apart what went wrong with 318, and they were actually fairly brutal about themselves, about what went wrong. So, I mean, I'm just trying to. Excuse me. Here we go. So, I mean, this is basically the bit that we want to read, right? The anticipation for persistent entity streaming in 318 was nothing short of unprecedented for us. When the patch first dropped, we experienced our highest peaks ever for logins per minute and per hour, and had our highest number of attempted logins in a day for the first few days of launch. We say attempted because, as you all know, the service was so overwhelmed by the traffic and teething pains of PES that many players could not get into the game, as various issues stalled users throughout the login funnel. Some were stuck in queues, some couldn't get the characters to load, some were stuck in an infinite loading screen. As you can read more about it in Benoit Beausejour's account below, we underestimated the multiplicative forces of going to live and now creating and persisting every entity players created through their actions, creating a load on a service that was beyond our initial forecasts. And it took weeks, if not months, to expose, diagnose, create fixes, test them, and deploy them to restore the service, all while the game was still running on live. We learned a lot, and whilst we're still recovering and regret the compromised service, it has definitely taught us a valuable lesson to value and preserve the integrity of the service more than we had in the past. That's why, as we begin to roll out the replication layer split and crash recovery, two things that have been enabled by PES, we will do so gradually. And when we begin to deliver server meshing, we will create dedicated testing channels to harden those new technologies further and implement standards and thresholds before we graduate them to PTU and then live. So basically, we screwed up. They underestimated the weight that PES was going to put on stuff, and just weren't expecting it, So there's a couple of really interesting bits in here. So here you go. Issues with the changes introduced by PES only became apparent during large-scale use and under heavy player load, which caused delays in identifying and resolving the problems. And for those that are paying attention, remember when they said the wave system is switching to load testing rather than focus testing? This seems to be all spawned by this, basically. Features not thought to use persistence at all became affected by trivial delays, like tram systems, spawn queues, and others. And here's the really interesting bit. We underestimated the multiplication factor between PTU and live operations. The group had estimated a 10 times increase in back-end activity. We're faced with a 20 times increase in reality. That was requests, stream message sizes, overall activity. which caused service outages during the launch. So they basically only guessed half of the actual weight that PES brought with it. And that's why 318, the dumpster fire that it was, brought everything crashing to a halt. Okay. Major issues were also discovered at scale with a third-party database engine that PES leverages for its functionality. These issues gave birth to very unstable request and response cycles, as well as heavy queuing. These issues cause ripple effects where one database entering a deadlock condition would cause the entire shard cluster instead of a single shard, so lots of servers instead of one server, to stop processing requests for a period. Yeah. Multiple locking problems were discovered in the global database system that would cause a periodic stop of all requests to the inventory systems. The team had to investigate and report to our vendors to determine workarounds and ultimately fixes that would prevent the database engine from locking. So this is what I mean by them kind of do the work in the back end, is them having to, you know, look at all these problems. And it's not stuff that we would necessarily notice unless, as with 318, it doesn't work. That's where it starts to get quite hectic. So as it says here, several bugs were uncovered. Server crash handling was discovered to take a much longer amount of time due to a new process that kicks in during the post-mortem. Delayed players getting stowed back to the global inventory, which could result in a player being stuck in a shard. And I think for any of us that got into the game on that, we experienced it, right? We felt we felt that weight, I think. But yeah. Sitcon announcement Pyro is coming soon. Wiggy, if that happens. It needs to be stronger than that, doesn't it? Rory says, by the way, I love the latest ISC. That was the it was like the part 1 talking about cargo handling and stuff. Dropped. What was it you liked? Wiggy says again, I really hope CIG realizes now just how popular the PU is when they actually release major content. The players are starving for it, having been starving for decent content for years. Wake up call. Yeah, 100%. And 320 doesn't look set to fix that. I mean, there might be a couple of things that they'll be able to inject, which will be things like the platforms at Horizon, which is supposed to become their own missions. It does say that actually somewhere down here. And it talks about, here you go, the new FPS environments were well received in a refreshing change after only having underground facilities for years. We had to turn the missions off for 319 because we were aiming to release Siege of Horizon. They didn't do either in the end. We have relocated the missions to new platform clusters and we'll be releasing them when possible. So maybe they'll come in a point patch. It would be nice to see that in 320. I know it doesn't scratch the itch for everybody, but that would be good to see. At least some people made it into 318. The number of people that got locked out of the game for months was rough. Yeah, precisely. Well, one of the things that they've talked about going and trying to change, so it talks here, we'll finalise and use the new cloud test launcher to adequately stress test the game shards at scale. This tool will simulate player behaviours and allow QA and the engineers to connect multiple modified game clients to the shard. By utilising cloud computing resources, effective stress testing can be conducted, which will help identify and address issues related to heavy load servers before moving to live. So it looks like there's going to be an extra stage there between the game coming to the PTU from all the testing that they do. So before all that happens, they're going to test the crap out of it with some cloud stuff, which cloud magic, which works. Okay. And that's what it talks about. The team responsible for PS has now moved on to static server meshing and are embracing a transformation approach to the project. This foundation technology can be integrated into the code base gradually, avoiding the disruptive Big Bang approach that we experienced. Parts of server meshing tech are already available to the game team for testing compatibility with their game features. Combined with the Cloud Test launcher, this aims to facilitate a smoother integration process for static server meshing. Cool. And that's the next bit, right? That's hopefully where we are. I think the problem with a lot of this at the moment is, if we switch around a bit, nothing in the kind of the monthly report makes me really think that any of this stuff is just around the corner, which is somewhat worrying. Not least because I think, you know, CitizenCon's just trying to go now. Yeah, they might have stripped all that information out, and they're you know, intentionally downplaying this stuff. But you know, there's nothing in here that makes me think they've moved on that far. A lot of this stuff is still talking about things that you think, hang on a second, shouldn't that be done by now if we're going to get pyro or whatever by the end of the year? The only thing I can hope is that the static server meshing side that will allow us to jump from Stanton to Pyro to Nyx to Odin to wherever, that is fairly simple because it's been implemented in so many ways and so many other games, because it's effectively just an industry staple. It's nothing shocking. It's not a big piece of new tech. The static server meshing has been happening for ever. Yes, dropped. I will get to you, my friend, an invite to it. I'll drop it in the chat momentarily. But yeah, I'm just going to change the thingy over so you don't see all or too much of the back end wizardry as I'm here. But yes, let's have a look. But yeah, anyone's welcome to come across and jump into the DGP Discord. Should you so desire, you are more than welcome. Invite people. Let's have a look. So good for 7 days and 7 days only. Here we are. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted at all. Okay. There you go. For those that aren't, jump in. Let me know when you're in. You won't see much when you're first in, but that way I can, you know, give you the right roles and you'll see all the things. And feel free at any point to come, hang out, say hello. If you see people in chat, you know, just jump in, read the room a bit first. You know, don't go in and just slam it out on the table. But you know, feel free to come in and have a chat. If we're in there, trust me, if I'm doing something that I don't want to be interrupted for or whatever, there are channels there that you guys can't see. So by all means, jump in and we'll go from there. Cool. Khan says, I'm sure the devs are working hard on meshing, etc., but I think the lack of content and the technical issues feels rough, combined with the wave changes as it hit at an all-time low for content. Yeah, I mean, I've gone through the role changes, the PTU wave changes a few times. I don't think it's the disaster that everyone is making it out to be. I think it works. Um, you know, all right, it's negative, including for me, right? I'm negatively impacted by it. I was concierge. I'm not a subscriber. I'm now wave 5 or wave 4, whichever, with everyone else. Just before the floodgates open. Which isn't great from a content creator's standpoint. And there are no perks. I've not got any other access. I've had no direct communication with CIG whatsoever at all. So yeah, like I'm negatively impacted by it. But the overwhelming bit that struck me is when I watched Morphologist's video is when they were talking about 95% of the people who log into PTU do so once, for a couple of hours, and that's it, and that is not that's not effective for them when you think that you know those 95% are going to want to see stuff fairly early, so you've got a massive spike in network requirements to be able to download all that stuff, that bandwidth. You can't just buy bandwidth by the hour. You're buying it for a considerable period of time. For those people to download it once and go, that's it, I'm done, it's all good. So yeah, you're very welcome, Drops. You're very welcome. Be good to see you in chat and that sort of stuff. Cat says agreed. I just think currently there's nothing to drive people to spend time playing PU currently. Yeah, absolutely, and I think there's an element there. You're exactly right, Dropped. If it works better for development, it's fine. But there are these. There are going to be these lulls, and unfortunately, as we've talked about already a couple of times, this one isn't well timed, being at the same time as Starfield's release, Baldur's Gate release. And that's going to spark all the ridiculous, Starfield going to destroy Star Citizen. Obviously not, is the answer to that. But yeah, I there's also the times when I do feel like there are bits that they could be doing better, like Pirate Week. Why? I mean, is it alternating between the Ninetales lockdown and Jump Down? Because it should be. And I know they're changing the Ninetales lockdown event, but that's the beautiful thing with computers is there's not one thing. You copy the mission file, you keep the Ninetales, and then you work on the other copy. You can still run the old one. It might not be perfect, but at least it's in the theme of Pirate Week. And if they're not already doing that, I don't understand that. So yeah. But yes, I just feel like at the moment I keep coming back to wanting to make videos, and it's not easy at the moment. There are lots of videos you can make in terms of other things to talk about. But when you get into the realms of speculation and what you think that they should be adding to the game and all that sort of good stuff, the problem that comes along with a lot of that is that the game's still so underdeveloped at this point that you don't have enough to go on to do any real decent speculation. It is all blue sky thinking. So I want to do a video on medical gameplay because I think there are issues with medical gameplay as it stands. That's one type of speculation because you can say, hey, look, here's a problem, here's how they could fix it. And that works. But, like, for example, talking about the fleet command system, just so much of that doesn't exist. We don't know how ships are going to coordinate with each other. We don't know how people are going to coordinate within ships. We don't know what that module looks like because we don't know what computers are going to do within the game. Does a fleet command module get better when it's connected to better comms, better computers, better sensors, better everything? Don't know. So it becomes quite hard. Wiggy says the only thing that could destroy Star Citizen is Star Citizen. That's what I worry about sometimes. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. The thing I really like about Star Citizen is the fact that it isn't being held to any investor's whim. So they're just going to release it when it's ready. And sure, that comes with the dangers of feature creep, and we've seen that happen. But we've also seen the awfulness that came along with Cyberpunk 2077 and, being held to a deadline very early on and then having to change that. CD Projekt Red was subject to people were sending them threats to unalive people, which is just not my people. Put it that way, not my people. But yeah, so Wiggy says, looks like Starfield has been bringing people to No Man's Sky lately. They just had a large increase of players over there. Says, I think a lot of SC backers will play Starfield because space games are so few and far between. Yeah. Drop says, I think Starfield will bring people to SC. Yeah, it has what Starfield doesn't. Do you know what? That's a really. It's probably a really good time to just talk about thoughts on those games. I love Starfield. Now, I didn't enjoy at all Fallout in any of the iterations that I played. I tried. I'm just going to look at Steam very quickly. But I tried. Where are you? Fallout. Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas. Yeah. So I've tried a number of Fallout games. Didn't get on with them. The most time I've got is under 10 hours. Put it that way. Didn't grab me at all. I've got here. I've also got Skyrim, and Skyrim was one of those things where I started off, I was enjoying it, and then it got to this weird, like there was no rails at all, and all of a sudden, before I knew it, I'd left that dragon shout thing, and I wandered off, and the next thing I know, I'm a vampire, and I can't go out during the day, and everybody hates me, and I'm like no further on in the story, and I know some people love that aspect of it, but I just found that not my thing. I was like, give me a little bit of guidance as to what should be happening next, sort of thing. But, and probably just everyone's probably like, oh my god, he didn't play this, out, eject. But it, each to their own, right? I know, I've said something because I can see chat pinging away in the corner. But Wiggy says Fallout 1 and 2 were the best. Stunner says at Badger as well, sir. Now that you've played a lot of Starfield, will you be try playing Star Citizen? No, I'm not going to play that vaporware scam citizen stuff. Behave. But yeah, Starfield just sucked me in at minute one. And I feel like what they've done is they've gone, we're going to make two lists. The first one is every cool story you've ever heard or seen about space, from TV, film, real life, whatever, put them in that column. And then every other cool story that you've ever heard that we could modify to be in space, put it in that column. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds because I want to talk about one of the quest lines, but I don't want to do it if people don't want the spoilers. So if anyone in chat doesn't want me to talk about a particular quest line, then please say so, and I won't. I'll use a generic kind of. I'll generic it up so it gives no spoilers. And I'll give a couple of seconds for that just to go through. But there's a few things that I really do enjoy about Starfield that I think they just got right from the start, and then they got right all the way through. That ship builder, you could lose yourselves for hours in that. That's quite good fun and quite intuitive. And I look at systems like that and I go, it's complicated. actually, it's not that bad at all. Yeah, I went into the shipbuilder once. I went, oh, I just need to add some passenger space. Next thing you know, an hour later, I'm like, ooh. So I'm still flying a Frontier, but it's not the Frontier anymore. Um, Edison can shut up, right? Edison's been trying to spoilerize me the entire week. So Edison, I'm going to pour spoilers in your ears. Um, but yeah. Um, so one of the storylines is as you try to become with one of the factions, you get a mission to go out and investigate a farm. Um, they've made a complaint, and you go there. Um, the lady complains that a group of people came out of the wilderness at night, approached her and said, "We want to buy your farm." Lowballed her massively. She told them to buzz off, and then they warned her that the next time they were going to be back, the conversation wasn't going to be as nice. So she better be prepared to accept the offer next time. So you go there, you track them down, you get to this encampment, and it turns out these are no band of ruffians. They're not your normal criminals hiding in the hills that talk tough when there's four of them. They're all in military uniforms with a shield from the Freestar Collective, the shield with a one on it. And it turns out that they are all part of the thought destroyed First Freestar Cavalry, who during the recent colony war, um, they they were attacking a particular UC, a United Colonies fortress. It was incredibly hard to break into, and they were suffering horrendous casualties. And just as they broke through, just as they started to gain the upper ground, the order came down from their high command, ceasefire. And the commander went, absolutely not. What did I lose all these men for if I'm just going to give up now? And they took over the fortress, butchered everyone inside. So it turns out that this commander and the remainder of his men were all court-martialed and imprisoned. And they've only just made it out, and now this is who you were up against. There's a stolen ship involved. There's basically a whole plot around crops and fertilizer, and you just go in, and I'm there going, I don't want to kill these people, but I'm left with no choice. They just keep giving me no choice. I've got to kill them, and it was awful all the way through. I was just poor old Can and Edison were in Discord, and all of a sudden there would just be me shouting, "You are supposed to bring balance to the force, not destroy it." Just felt completely betrayed myself that I was killing these guys. And brilliant. There's 3 or 4 decisions in the game where I've gone, I don't know what I want to do. Like, not from the benefits. It's like I genuinely don't know what I would do in this situation. So that Bethesda giving you choices, and that sort of stuff, absolutely chef's kiss for Starfield. And I'm not suggesting this goes into Star Citizen, but the fast travel, the just being able to be like, I finished a conversation with someone, and then I open my log, and then I look at the next bit of the mission, and I go set route, and then go, yep, take me there, and I'm there. I don't have to run back to my ship, and then get on my ship, and then take off, and then fly there, because frankly, being in space is boring. That's the bit that Starfield doesn't do well. It's the being in space. Moons, fun, cinematic. Planets, fun, cinematic. All those locations to explore, great. I've had so much fun being a space samurai. That's it. Honestly, the big terramorph at the starport, samurai. Like, everyone looked at that. Everyone's running up with miniguns. There's just me like, wah! With this two-handed samurai sword, and a boost pack. That. Everything else, I love the stories, the stories about the companions. Some of the patter's quite good fun. There's a couple of guys that I went, I think someone in the military wrote your script and wrote the way, because I behaved with them like I would do with the banter with some in the military and got really good results out of it. So that was kind of cool. Um, but yeah, Wiki says, "Oh man, you're gonna love Baldur's Gate 3." That's cool, man. I'll definitely have a look into that. Um, Drop says, "Dang badges, I'm strictly a monogamous gamer, but may you make me want to dabble into the game." Man, variety is the spice of life. It's, and this is the thing. I think had I tried to stick with Star Citizen at this point, I'd be long term done with it, for a good long time. It's just it's not scratching the itch. Outside of the problems that I'm having personally with the game in terms of client and crashes, it's not scratching the itch. It's not doing it. Um, and just finding something else. Everything I saw about Starfield made me go yes, and it doesn't have to with everyone else. And there are flaws to it, and there are bugs, and I found bugs, and like we were trying to solve one yesterday, a mining bug with nodes, and we were all sat there going, I've not heard of this happening to anyone else. This is really weird. So it's not perfect, but like the stories on honestly the what they've done. I was getting a really The Rock, yeah, the film with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage, and I forget the bad guy's name in it. Someone help me out in chat. Who's the bad guy in The Rock? Google it. Um, but it's that beginning that you've got the sad American music, and you've got the um, hold on, soldier, evacuation will be coming for you. Sir, we're being overrun. They're not coming for us, are they, sir? And you just, like, with the first, that was the story that was in there. And you keep seeing references to them. I keep finding, like, in battlefields, you'd see a piece of armor with the shield and the one on it, and it's just like, Sag. Absolutely brilliant. Classic Bethesda, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Shinobi says, I spent 3 hours landing and running around a planet looking for a good spot to set up a base. Mate, I can believe it. I can 100% believe it. Honestly, can recommend. The story stuff is great. Yes, it does funny things. There was a wonderful moment. I couldn't stop laughing. I don't think anyone else really found it that funny. But so one of the characters in it is a female called Andrasia, and that's the character that my character is involved with, right? And it came to the one where that she started talking about, because of her background, she wasn't sure about the whole commitment thing. So we were having this whole conversation about how did two people from two completely different cultures get married in Starfield. And what was really funny was we were having this conversation at a trade association or trade alliance thing. So in the background was this absolute mountain of a man, Ed Harris. Thank you, Ray. Thank you. That was really winding me up. Ed Harris as the Colonel, who it turns out actually wasn't that bad a guy. But yeah, fantastic. Um, yeah, really, General Hummel. Yeah, absolutely. Really, really good. But it had those vibes, right? But I'm talking to her, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to get married and commit to each other for the rest of our lives. And there's this guy in the background with a beard, right? Whopping great bushy beard, huge character, human but huge, and he stood facing away from us. But as soon as I opened the chat window, I was looking at the chat option, so I wasn't paying attention, and all of a sudden he just goes, and he's just kind of leaning back and staring into the conversation, and it was honestly the funniest. I couldn't stop laughing because he would go, and then someone would walk past him and he'd look away, and then he'd just kind of go and reinsert himself into the conversation, and it was like maid of honor, I guess. Um, Absolutely brilliant. So it's got its funny moments. Where it doesn't do SC is, and I'm hoping you guys know what I'm talking about with this. You know when you have that moment in Star Citizen and you just got to stop and go, "Holy shit, that's amazing!" Like the one of the cinematics, whether it be standing in Horizon at night, or whether it's um, whether it's landing on a rooftop in Lorville and looking out Lorville, whether it's coming through the clouds into ArcCorp and seeing all of the city laid out in front of you. Whatever it is, it doesn't have that. It doesn't do that to me. It doesn't have that sudden, oh my god. It snaps you out of the game with, like, literally, it's almost like a coolness overload. You just go, I can't believe I'm playing this. This is ridiculous. It doesn't have those moments. It doesn't have those moments no matter where you are. I've been to alien temples. I've been on board a space cruise liner with something called the Starlight Lounge, and you go out and it's supposed to be immense. I've been onto huge a huge United Colonies and Navy warship. It just doesn't have that. It doesn't have that effect. So there's, and that's the beautiful. Drops, mate. Lovely to see you. All the best. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon, dude. Yeah, exactly that. It just doesn't carry that weight, that gravitas, as so rightly said. Yes, yeah. SC has those. I can't believe what I just did was even possible moments. Yeah, and what I really like is, again, it's within other games. You know that it's um, set up right. So again, running around Starfield, there are areas where it's like emergency walls. So it's a weakened panel, but it's got 4 rods. You can go up with your cutter tool and just go zzz, 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 and the panel falls out, and you can use that to approach missions in different ways. Um, Great, nice gimmick. Um, Fun to have the extra options. But that in Star Citizen, having that cutting tool and knowing that when you go to Caterpillar Rex, you can already see some of those shipping containers, the big ones, they've got the keypads on, or they've got the solid reinforced like bars that go through, and you know that later on that's there purely because you're going to be able to cut through. You're going to be able to hack them open. That stuff in Star Citizen, it's so much more special because it's not all handcrafted like Starfield is. You know that when you walk into a place in Starfield, that's been placed there by a person, and it's supposed to look like that. Whereas it feels different with Star Citizen. I don't know if that's the reason, but it definitely does feel different, and I think you guys will get what I'm saying, right? But yeah, it's really good. It's scratching an itch, I think, that Star Citizen couldn't at the moment. And I know it's going to spawn, and I'll probably end up doing one of these myself, right? But it's going to spawn all these videos of 5 things, 10 things, 3 things, 7 things Star Citizen can learn from Starfield. But that's not a bad thing. Taking elements that people really like from one game and replicating them in another is not a bad thing. There's things that I hope it doesn't copy. I hope it doesn't copy the fast travel, because that's where they're fundamentally different games. Fast travel in Star Citizen doesn't make sense. Well, I'll turn that around. Fast travel in Starfield makes absolute sense. Because it's a Bethesda game and fast travel's always been a thing, but also because it's cool to do in your ship. You get out, you sort your inventory out from the chair, but if you're not in your chair, you're not flying anyway. So most of the time, it's a case of I'll do that when I'm landed. I'll throw whatever I don't need from my inventory into my ship's cargo, and then maybe I'll change it up when I get to where I'm going. But by and large, that's it. There's nothing else to do on that ship. You don't run around internally and repair anything. You might talk to people, although you don't have to. If someone wants to talk to you, they'll wait until you get off the ship and they'll talk to you off the ship. Whereas Star Citizen, there's going to be a lot more to do on board. So the fast travel thing at the moment, people complain about getting out of atmosphere in Horizon and stuff, and how long it takes you to get airborne, or into orbit and into space. That's not going to be as bad, I don't think, once they've figured out the atmospheric flight model and pilots actually having to concentrate on that stuff and make sure they don't fall out of the sky. But also with everything else that goes on with the shipborne maintenance, with the mini games that you can do on board, with moving your cargo around, everything being physicalized, that stuff's going to be very, very different, I think. I don't think that's an unfair thing to say. But these missions, the way they feel very real, it's hard to see how Star Citizen is going to do anything even approaching that, when a lot of their missions need to be modular and interchangeable at will by the computer without human input. How then do you add the character to that story? Because the weakest part of Bethesda's missions is the mission boards, where you just go up and it randomly generates planets to survey, or it will generate pirates to kill, a base to go and take over, whatever it is. But they're literally just on a message board, and you open it up and it gives you the details, and that's it. That's Star Citizen's mission system. At the moment, that's all we've got, is the weakest part of Bethesda's mission system. So hopefully they get to fix that out. Sorry, my chat's moved a little bit. Edison says, I still think we're going to get automatic travel system in Star Citizen. It will just take time. I kind of hope not. I hope that it is something where we can do things. I think if they make it interesting enough, you've got maintenance on your ship, you've got things to do on your ship, you've got things you can set up, customize, all that sort of stuff. I think actually that's, it becomes a non-issue, because what you do is you go, well, hey, look, we'll just get the cargo on board, and then all the moving stuff around and getting the missiles back into the missile systems, and reloading the chaff, we can do that when we're on the route. We can do that when we're on the move. So things become a lot more, then it's a race, because then you want to have stuff reloaded before you get into atmosphere. So now it's not, oh god, how long is it going to take? Now it's going to be, can you slow down a bit, because we're not quite ready. We haven't got our countermeasures loaded. If we haven't got the countermeasures loaded and we get we get contacted up there. So hopefully they'll figure out systems that will flesh that out for us. Cal says, man, I can't wait to see how people are going to complain when they find they have to maintain spacesuits and personal weapons. Yeah. Charter flights will help there, but they'll still take time. Yeah, absolutely. I think the flights offline stuff. I mean, even then. So let's say an org instigates a blockade of a system, and kind of goes to that gate. How does that affect commercial flights? Because if I can just put 400 org mates on a commercial flight and then claim their ships in that system, what use is the blockade? So yeah, it's really interesting, because does it stop it? What happens if that blockade happens after you've started your flight? Do you still get through? Because then intelligence, as long as you can get your guys on a commercial flight before the blockade is initiated, but before that they would have naturally intercepted them anyway, that means they get through. That doesn't make a lot of sense. ALB says, it's the same way driving in Hell Let Loose tanks could have been WASD, but the gear system keeps the driver engaged. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and for the driver, exactly that, Notorious. It's a really good example. Because if you get caught in the wrong gear, in a tank in Hell Let Loose, it can often mean you've got to go all the way back down to Gear 1, which means you've stopped, which means you're dead in tank combat. So, and I'm not suggesting that you would have to stop in space, but, we were talking about this yesterday, or this morning at Ridiculous O'Clock, how when I play Armour as a milsim game and you land a fighter, even a transport helo, stuff like that, there's a sense of achievement. It's not easy landing those things. If you do that too hard, you damage the aircraft to the point where it can't fly. And when you play on public servers, there's 59 other people on that server. So if you've crashed into the runway on their one air defense fighter, there's a 15 minutes respawn. So off at the AO with all your troops on the ground, if they're getting hammered by enemy aircraft, they've got to put up with that for 15 minutes because you can't have a new one for 15 minutes. So you crashing it because you're a bit of a mon means that 58 other people on the server, because there's a commander who's always at base, are going to have a really bad day for the next 15 minutes to half an hour while you get your act together, then you arm the plane up, and then you take off and fly. Just the fact that I can fly into Atmo, fly about 200 feet off the ground in a hammerhead, and then just go, oops, take my hand off W, nip away to the toilet, go get myself a drink, come back upstairs, and it's just hanging in midair. There's no skill. It's infantilizing as controls. And I get it, having the ability to hover, having the ability to stop works. But again, like, if you're flying in Armour or any of those sorts of games, you can't step away from it because you're flying. And the minute you step away, even a helo that appears to be in the hover, there are subtle changes in the environmentals, which means all of a sudden you are very slowly drifting right, but that momentum's just going to keep picking up. So by the time you've come back to your computer, you've slammed the helo into a mounting. So yeah, CIG has talked about the way ships are going to be physically moved. It's why I brought a Liberator. I fancy a piece of that action. Notorious LP. Imagine if ships had a gearbox. People would be stalling all day long flying out of Horizon. Oh my god. Nose down Caterpillar in Atmo. Yeah. Like, the only ship I've ever flown in Star Citizen that's given me any satisfaction of doing anything with it is the Reclaimer. It's landing a Reclaimer in Atmo. Back when, if you didn't have its descent rate under control at 6, 7, 8 kilometers up, you were just dead. You'd just be full burn, boosting all the time, and you couldn't slow it enough before it slammed and all the legs fell off. So yeah, trying to get a Reclaimer into Atmo out of Atmo is actually quite challenging. I'm not suggesting they come back to hover mode, but there's the VTOL capability again in Armour. You don't land a Reclaimer, just crash it with style. Yeah, so you've got a transition between forward flight and VTOL mode, and that transition you've got to be very careful because you're powering down, you're changing the position of the engine. If you think an Osprey, right? So you've got the ones with the big propellers either side, and then those propellers on the wings, the aircraft stays level, but those propellers then go vertical and the Osprey lands. Apart from the fact that those things are really, really prone to just falling out of the sky, they don't actually just go. It's a gradual change, and you change at different speeds. The angle of the pitch, effectively, of the engine, right? To transition slowly from full forward flight to hover, and then at that point you can move around some, but fairly in a very cumbersome manner. But that takes skill, and that takes practice, and that takes, a little bit of concentration. Stuff like that I'd be very much. I'd like to see them implement that sort of thing into SC. I think something like that would do fairly good. But thoughts on answers on a postcard, I guess. Jonathan Briand, hello mate, welcome to the stream. I saw a very interesting video about the Perseus with 3D vision and good commentary. Would you like the link? Maybe you saw it. I'd like your opinion. Yeah, mate. Fire it across if you like. I'd be interested in seeing that. I4C will get some autopilot functionality eventually to keep a ship hovering in place or to fly to a destination. Some of it will come with NPC crew, some with blades. Well, I didn't mean to do that. Damn. Well, that's my fault for keeping that there. I'll sort that out in a minute. Yeah, someone said Perseus. Perseus. One says, yeah. Yeah, some, autopilot. And actually, in forward flight, there's absolutely the ability to just go, I'll keep at this, stay level, fine. You might get buffeted around a little. But generally with velocity, stability increases, right? It's that slowing of velocity. And also we've got different body types, right, in terms of the aircraft. So in Atmo, something like the Ares, the most of the fighters, like the Hercules is going to deal pretty well in Atmo because they're aerodynamic to a point. Whereas the Aurora is a coffin shaped object with the aerodynamics of a post office. So that's very likely to just fall out of the damn sky. So with stuff like that, they're going to have to be quite careful. Yeah, transitional lift, exactly that. Yeah, I look forward, Shinobi says, I look forward to the new atmospheric flight model. I want to see flying bricks fall out of the sky when not handled correctly. Yeah, there's a great bit. Excuse me. Rude, I know. I'm going to go find it for you. But there's a great bit. I don't know why I'm talking twice now, but I am. There's a great bit at the end of the Constellation commercial. As it comes into land, and it shows you the whole VTOL thing, and it shows you, why it is like that. I'll switch it over. You'll see it in a second, so you can see it. God damn you and your ads. So it's that bit, in fact. So as the Connie comes in, you can see that the two planes that sit either side of the bridge slide forward and your vents open up. There. And that transition to VTOL then means that it stops. If they were further back, the nose would just dip and this thing would then, face plant into the floor. So that slide forward provides that extra lift that's required to stop that from. So it's stuff like that. It's just making sure you do that at the right time, because then if you do, it stops the thing from falling out of the sky, and it, you can also have a bit where it's a little bit of a struggle, or not a struggle, but it can be a little bit of a I don't know why I keep doing noises like this. to recover, but you can recover. It's not an instant like, oh, you didn't press X at the right time. You are instant dead. You've just fallen from the sky and burst into flames. We can have a little bit where, you get to recover and you get to fix it, but go, let's not do that again. Right? There have been plenty of times in a helo in armor I've started sliding down a hill. That's not been fun. You can recover. Yeah. Never thought you would hear dynamic and post office in the same sentence. Well, you have now. Da-da-da. See? World of firsts, me. One of the things I thought it might be quite cool to do is there's a video I just wanted to take a look at. Got sent it by a friend a little while ago. It's still kind of all about ships and stuff, but different types of ships. But I thought it might be quite good fun to give this a watch. So let's have a look. It's only 11 minutes, so we shall have a look and see what we think. Okay, let's have a look.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Early Warning Radar. Today I want to talk to you about a project that I've been tracking for a little while now, and while it's still in the pre-production stages, it's still showing a great deal of promise, and this game is called Ahoy. Ahoy is planned to be a first-person MMO set in the late 18th century West Indies, where players will be able to rove about the seas with their ships and crew, trading, fighting, and exploring the open world. Or not, for you see that while the ships and sailing are certainly at the forefront of the experience, if you want to play the game without ever owning your own ship and only ever hitching a ride or staying a true landsman, you can do just that. The premise is similar to games like Star Citizen or EVE Online, where the map is open and player interaction within a loose or semi-loose framework of factions makes the open world go round. Players will be able to join nation factions and receive the benefits and drawbacks of being a part of that nation. You can join that country's navy if you like combat, or of course join their merchant navy if you like trading and logistics. Alternatively, you can just remain a civilian captain, operate as a privateer, or you can turn to piracy at the very real risk of having all nations and their privateers try to hunt you down. This in particular I'm very excited for, because only those truly dedicated to the pirate lifestyle will survive, let alone thrive. It is fixed to a first-person perspective, which is a huge plus in my opinion. The grounded point of view will really help to immerse you in the experience that Ahoy is trying to provide, rather than relegating it to third-person cameras that often pull you out of the experience, or inevitably get abused for gameplay advantages. Viewing these ships from the decks and even their interiors will showcase the true scale and grandiosity of the ships and ports. At the forefront of this game, perhaps above all other things, is one singular priority that has been deemed critical by the development team at Capstan Games: historical accuracy. Both their website and discussions that I have had with the developers show that authenticity and historical accuracy is at the core of the project's focus. Even their website features flashes of highly humorous 18th century prose that I just love. A proclamation by Capstan Games, Sunday 10th of September 2023. We, taking into our most serious consideration the indispensable duty we have to develop Ahoy at a most ready pace, do therefore humbly request your assistance through a most charitable donation towards the development and delivery of our foremost and chief effort. Published by Special Authority, printed by Capstan at the sign of the printing press in Cornhill, near the Royal Exchange, London. Holy word salad. Ports, ships, firearms, tools and clothing are all being recreated based on real 18th century maps, plans, designs and charts. For example, their first location, Port Royal, Jamaica, is recreated from maps drawn up in the 1780s, which is when the game is set. The work they have done to not only recreate the port proper, but also the smaller details of shops, workshops, taverns, and other historically significant buildings of the time like St. Peter's Church, Fort Charles, and the Naval Hospital is truly impressive. This is much less Pirates of the Caribbean and much more Master and Commander, with a grounded and realistic approach instead of what I consider to be very fun but ultimately silly depictions of the period. Currently popular Age of Sail IPs like Pirates of the Caribbean and Sea of Thieves offer a fun and comical take on the genre, but Ahoy stands to give it a long overdue breath of fresh air, which in my opinion is very welcome indeed, as it is hardly ever depicted as seriously as it could or maybe should be. Indeed, there will be many popular Age of Sail tropes that are going to be corrected with Ahoy's release, one of the most prevalent ones, for example, being those who handle the ship's wheel, in which men will correctly stand beside the wheel and steer as a group of 2 or 4, rather than the incorrect depiction seen in games and movies of a single person, usually the captain, behind the wheel. The main point of attraction, for me at least, is the ships, and oh, what a wondrous job the folks at Capstan have done. From what we have seen so far, the ships look to be absolutely magnificent, reconstructed accurately from authentic historical ship plans. The team are giving critical attention to every detail, with fully modelled and functional interiors, stowage, rigging, and more. There will also be stores of firearms and other weaponry with which to arm you and your crew, including detachments of Marines to help defend your ship against a hostile boarding action. One particular detail I have seen and appreciate is the accurate recreation of the ship's steerage, with the rope moving down between the decks to the tiller and pulling it around with an authentically recreated mechanism.
I appreciate Hearts of Oak in the background. That's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Sailing mechanics will also be accurate, with players having to consider the wind and weather to ensure that the ship makes it to their destination at all, let alone in one piece. Sailing into the wind will cause you to go backwards, and holding too much canvas in a storm will break your masts. Sailing manoeuvres will take time to perform, with AI crewmen running about and manning sheets and braces. Everything will need to be considered well in advance, as unlike many other games, your canvas will not just magically fall from the yards at the press of a button. For warships in particular, this will be important, as a ship will take time to clear for action, and failing to bring the ship to a state of readiness in good time may cause you to be caught with your proverbial pants down. Currently, there are 3 ships being worked on to start, with others planned for the future. The first and smallest is Veloce, which is a brig sloop based on plans from HMS Speedy of 1782. Do not let the name fool you, however. Lord Cochrane raised merry hell with this ship in his heyday, so underestimate her at your peril. The second in order and size is the Nemesis, based on the French ship Tapageur in 1779, with the third and largest of the 3 being Phoebus, based on the 6th-rate frigate HMS Pandora, also of 1779. You will have to crew some of these ships with other people, particularly the larger ones. Ahoy is committed to the multiplayer, multi-crew experience, with players taking on officer roles to give orders to AI NPCs that fill the roles of ratings and enlisted crew. The AI crew will be loosely influenced by statistics such as morale, lending an amount of validity to proper crew management and running a tight ship, but the victor in combat will be ultimately decided by the better crews. That said, you can still operate the helm, yards, braces, rigging, shelves, hatches, and other equipment. Ahoy ships promise to be fully interactable and not mere sheds filled with pretty but impractical props. Everything is being considered, including simulated gun crews. This will make the ship feel alive without having to have each ship organise 240 players to be all online at the same time, which would be the actual count of a ship's company of a 6th-rate frigate of the period. For those seeking a single-player experience, this may come as a disappointment, but this is planning to be an MMO. Other people playing is part of the game. You certainly can get some quiet time and go exploring when playing solo, but getting far is going to require cooperation and player interaction. This is also for balance reasons. If one player can control the biggest ship, why would you bother getting 7 people together to crew the same ship and achieve the same result? Doesn't make sense to me. As for the release schedule, currently the screenshots and videos I have provided are pretty much all we have, as the title is in concept and pre-production stages at the moment. The developers are currently working hard on the first stage of their plan, the PRE or Port Royal Experience, which will allow players to log into the game in Port Royal, Jamaica, and explore and socialise with the other players. Next will come Sailing and Combat, which, as its name might suggest, are trials for the sailing and combat mechanics. This will eventually move over to a playable arena mode, which is a kind of PvP area for more testing, as well as giving players access to ships and combat games while the developers work on completing the world for the MMO proper. We currently have no timescales for any of this, and so, much like a real naval crew, we have to sit here and wait for the action to happen. You can find out more about Ahoy by going over to their website, where a huge FAQ section will likely answer your every question. Make no mistake, it's going to be a long wait, but if the initial work is anything to go by, this game might just be something special. That said, I am apprehensive, as the developers have mentioned that while nothing is set in stone, they are certainly not above altering aspects of the game to appeal to modern sensibilities. In some respects, I fully understand that the depictions of the ship's boys getting mangled by cannon fire might render the game a little on the unmarketable side. I just hope that aside from the obvious no-nos, aspects of history are not altered or revised to appease an audience that doesn't have a genuine interest in the game or genre to begin with. Furthermore, we have no gameplay, only a promise. It's still very early days, and we have nothing practical by which to properly judge this title yet, which, as it stands, is the most damning indictment of all. My final concern surrounds the MMO aspect. Now, don't get me wrong, I want the MMO, but this game, if should it ever shut down, then all of the history, the work that has gone into the game, shuts down with it. So an offline mode for exploration and presentation purposes would be very welcome in my opinion. Ultimately, this is going to be a title that I follow the development of very closely indeed. I'm very excited for the game, and I hope for its success. But what do you think? Is this as exciting for you as it is for me? Leave a comment letting me know what you think. I've linked Ahoy's particulars in the description for you to check out if you're interested. As for me, I'm off to rewatch Master and Commander for the 15th time.
This week.
Thanks for watching.
So if you are interested, that is channel Amidships, 28 subscribers. We can help them double that, easy. Go have a watch. Go say hello. The channel owner may or may not be in chat with us as we speak, but looks really good. And I agree with everything he said right at the end there about historical accuracy kind of being important. And I think it must be a fear of any developer that they get the target audience wrong, or that they don't do enough to gamify something and actually sacrifice players for the sake of accuracy. But there's a fine line for them to work there. But not a bad video at all. Thank you for that, Amidships. If anyone wants to go and watch that, I'll link it directly in stream chat for you guys. Let's have a look. Here we go. Right. Cool. Makes like a javelin sound way less of a stretch. What's that, Cam? What bit did that for you? But yeah, that looked really good. And yeah, Amidships definitely a channel to keep an eye on. Yeah, I certainly will be. Just gonna, whilst we deliberate, just gonna keep an eye and make sure that anyone that comes into the channel has the new role. 283 crew. Yes, quite. Single track. Yeah, like I get it. It's not my thing. I'm not a, you know, I you've got to be really careful on YouTube what you say to this sort of stuff. But yeah, you can see that there would very easily be the crowd who don't like history and want to talk about historical slavery and that sort of stuff, and the role that 1780s Caribbean played in that. And then oh, you might get some thunder in the background. I've just seen a flash outside. Now that someone's taking photos of the window, or we're about to get some thunder. Either is cool. Rum, yeah, absolutely. Why is the rum gone? That's it. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, there is a little bit of thunder, although I don't think it's coming through for you guys. It's quite a way away. Yeah, it certainly kind of makes you look and reevaluate what Star Citizen are doing with their multi-crew gameplay. Because isn't that the question at the minute? As if you could take a javelin or you could take in 80 individual ships. Wouldn't you take 80 individual ships? I don't know. If I can't sell my employees, this game is not accurate. So there's, yeah, hunting slavers could be fun. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's weirdly it. I mean, it's part of, I think, the conversation around this that I really don't like, which is if you include it, the game will be accused of capitalizing from it and profiteering from it. If you don't include it, you will be accused of whitewashing and romanticizing history. But yeah, but we'll see. I mean, maybe we turn them into the eternal bad guys, and because let's face it, they didn't have many redeeming qualities at that point. As long as it's understood that everyone engaged in it, um, and it doesn't give you the option to take the cargo as your own and sell it on. Let's not do that, maybe. But elsewise, yeah. Yeah, it looks really good. I quite enjoy Sea of Thieves with a group of friends. Um, I think that's good fun. I'll even do it on my own for a little bit. Poor old Edison had to listen to me quite a bit talk about how much I was enjoying it, and then all of a sudden that crashed to a halt. But yeah, something like that, realistics wise, would be very, very cool. Um, yeah, I'm not going to go much further down that road just because I don't want to say words that YouTube disagrees with, and then I get in all sorts of trouble. So I'm gonna move on. But yeah, it does make you think with the multi-crew gameplay with Star Citizen is how they can focus on that and do that better. Does that mean that the larger ships maybe they don't let you use AI crew, or the number of AI crew you use can be limited? Therefore, you have to use the players, but that way those ships become much more effective, and it's kind of your reward for getting that many people together at once. That's one way you could run and look at it. Yeah, but yeah, I think at the time, I think at the moment they're just going to have enough problem. Um, just getting, I say a problem. They've got enough of a hill to climb just to get the core mechanics of the gaming, to have that ability to go and be crew to move around. I'm sure there'll be other professions in there like ship's cook, all that sort of stuff that kind of feeds into the crew morale mechanic that they were talking about. Maybe that there's all sorts of stuff. I haven't looked at the FAQ yet, so but yeah, it looks very good. Yeah, Sergio's talked about a max number of AI per player, but never said a number. So I think a lot of people assume they can have as many as they like. And Notorious says, I'm looking forward to Sergio having a station other than the pilot or a turret. Engineering gameplay soon, team. Yeah. Oh, one of the really interesting things, we were talking about this yesterday, is the idea of communications. You imagine you're Idris, right? So I assume we've all seen the vertical slice for Squadron 42 gameplay. So you've got the captain and the bridge crew, and then you've got engineering, and then you've got the pilots, and then you've got the crew that work on the flight deck where the ships are through the center. And then you've obviously got the crew that are doing the gunnery and the missiles and everything like that. And you'll have the people, the Marines on board who will deal with boarding, repelling boarding, dealing with prisoners. You've got damage control. So when a fire breaks out, you have to send someone to go and deal with it. So you imagine all those people trying to talk to each other in one Discord channel. So Discord's not going to cut it at all. Now, the way things like Armour got around this was they used the old program TeamSpeak, but then you download a mod for it. So you would carry different radios in your backpack, and you would bring the radio up on the screen, and you would set a frequency, and you would set whether it was encrypted or clear. And then if other people were on the frequency in range, you could talk to them, and you'd have different combinations of button presses to talk on different radios, which works because the mod tidies it all up for you. One of the things I want to do is I want to get a recording. I'm in the 77th JSOC Armour Milsim unit, or I was. I've still got access, but I haven't been on there in so long. But they do kind of operations that range from anywhere from 35 to 80, 90 people in one TeamSpeak room. And this mod manages it all. But if you go in there without the mods loaded, you just hear everything. And I just want to get a recording of that for a minute in the middle of a firefight. So you can hear squads talking to each other, making calls, squad leaders talking to each other, the forward observer calling for fire, the pilots coordinating, medics getting called for, all in one channel to show you what it would sound like for a large ship to try and do it. Because you've got the people in the pilots telling the flight crew they're ready to go, the flight crew telling the bridge to open the doors at the same time that the ship's under attack. The gunnery are firing, and the pilot's like, well, am I opening the doors or am I not opening the doors? Because I've got planes all over I've got fighters all over the place here. Captain's got to make that decision. At the same time, something's broken, so we need to talk to engineering to get that, to make that fix happen. Not one comms. Discord, TeamSpeak, that sort of stuff is not going to cut it. And I'd be really interested if CIG have even grasped that this is going to be a problem. Because it's not an easy fix. Because if you're going to put voice comms up that people have to be a part of, then those voice comms have to be good. Like, really good. Like, you have to compete with Discord. Good. Yeah, for quality, connectivity, all that sort of stuff. Is that something that's going to run through the game? Are they going to release a third-party client for that? Because it runs through the game, it's using all the same bandwidth through their servers. Are they going to disconnect that? Are we going to do that on other things? If so, how does the game tell us when we're on a ship and not on a ship? And bleh. So yeah, they've got a lot of stuff to do. Single says Assassin's Creed Black Sails is one of my favorite games ever. Yeah, that was Black Flag was really good. Notorious says, "Where is my shipwide CIG? How am I supposed to tell the crew about Tapioca Tuesdays?" Yeah, comms have to be good enough to incentivize people to use them, and radio effects alone will be a huge bonus. Yeah, and like the ability to override. So the captain comes into a channel, everyone's chatting, captain presses push to talk, everyone else's chat just stops. Their push to talk is killed whilst he's talking. Gives you the ability to talk over. It's like a command override thing. You want the klaxon, the alarm. I work in government buildings. Government buildings have two alarms: the fire alarm and then the "we're under attack" alarm. They sound different, so you know which one is which. You could do exactly the same on board. It would be interesting. Maybe SC can pay TeamSpeak to do that for them. Yeah, the trick with if they continue to honour the the mod support, that may well happen. The other thing that I thought that might be quite cool is because the reason I thought about this is because Notorious was talking about having stations, and it's not the most exciting station, but it would be a very useful station that someone could jump onto when it's needed. Is at the moment we go onto a ship, we join the ship channel. When we leave the ship, we leave the ship channel. So what you want is a system that still does that at its core, so that people who don't want to play with all the comms like this, they don't want to be this organized, don't have to be. You don't want to make it harder for those players. They're just, they want to be casual comms users, so make it easy to be casual, right? So what we do is each ship, depending on its size, its capability, its computer, all that sort of stuff, gets a set number of comms channels. So when you join channel 1, which is the channel that you join. So if you don't want to do comms, it's really easy. You walk onto the ship, you automatically join that comms channel. Everyone talks on it. When you leave the ship, you leave the comms channel, and then you're talking voice over IP, or you're talking on Discord, or you're talking, direct. Nice, easy. What you then do is say, okay, well, my Hammerhead's actually going to have 3 channels. So it's got a channel for everyone, it's got a channel for the gunners, and it's got a channel for the engineers. So what you do is that they have those 3 channels. Channel 1, which is the one that everyone joins, is the everyone channel. And then you can add people to a channel, you can remove them, you can give them the override so they can speak over people, you can give them listen only. You can give it an order so that, okay, if I'm listening to all of these channels at once, the channel that's highest on the list is going to blot out the other ones if it's talked on. I can only listen, people can't access it. And that way then, caps lock or whatever your push to talk is talk on your main channel, and then control caps lock is talk on your next channel, and then shift caps lock is talk on your next channel, and then alt caps lock, and so on and so forth, right? So that's potentially that's one way that they could go. And then you have, that's just the internal stuff, because you imagine getting up to the scale of a Polaris or an Idris or a Javelin. They're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about, and then think about the external, talking to other ships that you're with, talking to your own fighters, being able to hail other ships, being able to talk to other stations and just other random passers-by. It's a lot of channels that we're going to need access to. The comms thing in and of itself is and that whole thing, Captain, we're being hailed. Open a channel. Beep boop. Yeah, it's spacefaring. It's a spacefaring trope, but you kind of need it, right? To talk. So, Karen says if it's 2 or 3 on a Cutlass or a Lancer, you probably don't need 4 channels. If you're on a Polaris Hammerhead, you probably don't want everyone in one channel. Yeah, so I mean, you probably want the Discord channel, but it sits right at the bottom. So you have the channel that everyone sits in and talks on. When you're just going about your business, you have the Discord channel that's got 7 or 8 of you talking, like you would do if you were playing a game. But then when it goes into comms officer can just bring up the comms part of his MFD and go, click, shut it down. Now that's gone. And everyone's going, on one of the other channels I'm still in, did they just shut down the ship wide? Yeah, they did. I wonder what. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's get to the guns. And everyone goes off to the guns, right? Really, really effective. But that would be good. Right now, hello, buddy. Hey, Avengers and all. Seems I've missed a bit. How goes? Yeah, mate. It's been good, thank you. Lots of fun on Starfield. Talking about Star Citizen and how Star Citizen has nothing to talk about at the moment, which is really frustrating. As a Star Citizen content creator, I've got nothing to talk about. But yeah, it's been a good stream so far. Thanks, bud. We've just had a really good look at the Amidships channel, talking about the upcoming MMO RPG Ahoy, which is set in 1780s Caribbean. All the Port Royal ships, kind of, they're going for historical accuracy. They're going for multi-crew ships and gameplay, which is all really exciting. And basically players are officers giving orders to NPC crew. So yeah, that looks very, very cool. Definitely one to watch. But yeah. Yeah, I've got Baratron somewhere, but I haven't done that for a while. Oh yeah, well right now we've been talking about Starfield. There was a little bit of SC chat, just in terms of like things that might want to pick up from Starfield, and the reason it's having such a glut at the moment. So we've had a chat about that. It's not been unfair. It's not been a bash CIG day, but it has been a God. It's getting boring on the Star Citizen front, and it doesn't. 320 doesn't look like it's really going to revise that because it's lots of arena stuff and not everyone's hyped for arena. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good. Yeah, so there's plenty of stuff, and all those sorts of terminals, from engineering to damage control to boarding and controlling of doors. All that sort of, reloading, the resource management, as you said, with engineering and stuff. Yeah, there's loads of that stuff. Yeah. TF21 says, of course, I see there's nothing to talk about. Where the F is Squadron 42? Squadron 42 went out to get cigarettes, just like my dad. No, I'm kidding. Me and my dad have a lovely relationship. But yeah, no, it's. Where is Squadron 42? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? What about do we think we're going to get Squadron 42 at CitizenCon? Over to you, because I really don't know. My gut feeling is no. My gut feeling is no. Even though the optimist in me says Los Angeles, a lot of film stars live out that way. If you were going to do a red carpet style event, this would be it, because it's 2 days instead of one. But I'm still not buying into it. Yeah, don't know. Retina says, yeah, I hear you. 20 looks good on some fronts, but I'm taking a wait and see position about it. Just glad they're not shoving master modes down our throats. Hover mode, ick. Yeah. Notorious ALB says about Squadron 42. I'm thinking not, though. We won't have a 1 hour, 30-minute banning match when talk this year, so I'm happy. I mean, how do you know? They might read that and then decide to put one in, and it would be all your fault. If they even do the same vertical slice they did in the updated game, I'd be able to see progress. It would be interesting to see them do that vertical slice a completely different way, so come in with a different approach. One of the things I did like about the last CitizenCon that they did, the one that showed off Pyro, was the okay, so we're going to get this artifact. Now here's 3 different ways of doing it. I really liked seeing those 3 approaches, even if one was the blindingly obvious. I'm going to go in and buy it, and then I'm going to go in and steal it, and then I'm going to go in and brute force it. They're not the most imaginative options, but they're pretty, seeing those different approaches was quite cool. Can says, I could see them doing some red carpet event, but I don't see them dropping the game at CitizenCon. I'd say it'd be a pathway to Squadron 42 launch, though. Yeah, I think it was interesting to watch. Chris Roberts talked about with most normal, or traditionally, you would get about 6-month warning. And I don't know whether that means he means we're going to get 6 months heads up before Squadron 42 hits the shelves. But I can't shake the idea. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. Don't know. So just before we knock it all on the head then for this evening, because we are at that time, ladies and gentlemen, I would be interested to know from you guys, CitizenCon. Are we doing a live stream? Are we all getting together online, virtually, with some drink and everything else to watch CitizenCon? What is the plan? What would your preferred course of action be? Let me know. Really interested to know, obviously, because then I can get it set up and all planned in advance, so I don't have to keep popping out and sorting things. I can get it all done Friday night, and we'll have the whole weekend to enjoy. You let me know. Oh, there's the thunder. I don't know if anyone's picking that up in the background, but that's getting steadily closer. So it's going to be a fun night tonight. 21 says 4.0 will be the big ticket item for PU. Nothing else as important as the server meshing. We've seen some mentions of it in the post-mortem, so CitizenCon better deliver. Yeah, I mean, I guess they kind of showed us server meshing when they did the wormhole stuff from Stanton to Pyro, because that's in effect what we're going to see, right? But yeah, interesting. Retina says, probably won't be able to do CitizenCon, at least not in game playing sense. I'm on my laptop only for now, even though I just looked at my GPU just so oh, dude, I'm sorry to hear that. That's no good. Hope you are back in the game soon. But yeah, online drinking game. We could do a CitizenCon bingo. We could do a CitizenCon bingo. I'll have it up on the screen. We could do that's a thing. We could do that if you wanted. I do not hold any responsibility then for what people do to themselves drinking. All right, it's not my problem. That's all you, folks. All right. Yeah. So, I think that's it. I think we've kind of covered where Squadron 42, or sorry, where Star Citizen is at the minute. Is between a rock and a hard place because they've got stuff that's just more newsworthy, stuff that's just more interesting to talk about and do. Yeah, right now. Well, like I said, it's hopefully things get better for you soon, buddy. But I'm sorry to hear things have been a bit for interesting. I read that it's been, yeah. Sorry, but when you're not even halfway through day one, and the rum is gone because CIG bingo, no, absolutely not. Cannot do that. Stunner says it would be definitely great to have time after CitizenCon to discuss about it. Well, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about 2 days is that after day one, we could have a meet up in Discord and chat and everything else. So yeah, if people want to do that, I'm all game. I'm all ears. Cool. Wow. We've had a chat about Starfield. We've had a chat about Star Citizen. I managed to show off for a little while my collector's edition Constellation thing, which I'm very, very happy with now that I have the PC edition and not the Xbox edition. Because don't order things drunk, kids. That's the moral of that story. All right, don't do it. It's not big and it's not clever. But yeah. Yeah, sorry right now, mate. It was a bit of a snap decision because I do have I've got about an hour of work now, or hour of prep stuff that I need to do for tomorrow. So it's been a bit of a last minute decision to stream. Next Sunday, I will endeavour to have something up on the stream a little bit sooner, and hopefully, either next week or the week after, we will start to see the return of Squadron 42, text-based adventure. I'm looking to do it a little bit improved, much more in the vein of episode 1 rather than the defunct and now retconned episode 2. That didn't happen. The whole People of Light thing, that was a bit... So yeah, we'll do it differently. But it's been lovely to catch you all. Just finished Starfield yesterday. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. But yeah, it's been lovely to see everyone. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.